listen carefully, because what I am about to say is not a suggestion. It is a revelation. There are moments in life when you become the price others are willing to pay for their ambition. They sacrifice you thinking that your loss will become their gain. They trade you for money, for position, for approval, for fleeting satisfaction. But what they did not know is this: you are not a commodity to be exchanged. You are a divine investment placed in the earth by God. And when they used you as currency, they bankrupted themselves. Woman, hear me. There are those who thought they could buy a future at the expense of your soul. They thought by betraying you, by discarding you, by replacing you, they would elevate themselves. But money cannot purchase what only God provides. It cannot buy peace in the midnight hour. It cannot secure the destiny written before time began. And it cannot silence the voice of heaven that declares your worth. When they sacrificed you, they did not diminish you. They exposed themselves. Because your value is not determined by who leaves, who uses you, or who chooses money over you. Your value is eternal, sealed by the one who created you. And when you detach emotionally, when you refuse to let their betrayal anchor you in bitterness, you rise to a level of strength that they cannot touch. Detachment is not indifference. It is confidence. It is the recognition that your worth was never up for negotiation. Understand this: those who traded you for gain will always fail, not because you cursed them, but because they violated a divine principle. You cannot prosper while devaluing what God has called sacred. You cannot win while dismantling what heaven designed for purpose. They sacrificed you, and yet they lost what they were chasing, because favor cannot be built on betrayal. Do not weep over those who exchanged you for silver. Do not waste your energy trying to prove your worth to people who sold their own integrity for coins. Instead, lift your head, stand in the power of detachment. For when you no longer need their validation, when you no longer crave their acceptance, you walk in a freedom that terrifies them. You become unshakable, untouchable, unstoppable. You see, God allowed the sacrifice so you could see who they really were. He let them reveal their hands so you would know they were never assigned to your destiny. And while they thought they were discarding you, heaven was actually preserving you. They lost you for money, but you gained clarity for life. They failed to get what they wanted, but you are about to receive what God has prepared. A woman's value is not negotiable. It cannot be reduced to material gain or temporary advantage. Too often, people view worth through the lens of currency, possessions, or status, and in doing so, they cheapen what is sacred. When God created woman, He did not design her as a product to be priced, but as a partner to reflect His glory. Her worth is eternal, woven into her very being. No amount of gold or silver can measure it. When someone tries to exchange you for money or recognition, it is not a reflection of your inadequacy, but their blindness. They cannot see beyond the surface, so they treat treasure as common, pearls as pebbles. A woman's value is never dependent on who notices her, who validates her, or who chooses her. Her value was established before her birth, written in heaven's records, sealed by the breath of God. That means no rejection can subtract from it, no betrayal can erase it, no abandonment can devalue it. Just as sunlight remains radiant, whether or not anyone opens the curtain to let it in, so a woman's worth remains untouched, whether or not people acknowledge it. The tragedy is that society often attempts to measure a woman in terms of her usefulness to others rather than her divine identity. She is weighed against beauty, against productivity, against her ability to meet someone else's expectations. But value is not about function, it is about essence. A diamond remains a diamond, whether placed in a crown or buried in the dirt. Likewise, a woman remains priceless regardless of her environment. her circumstances, or the opinions of those around her. To reduce her worth to money is to misunderstand her design. She carries eternal purpose, and that cannot be bought, sold, or sacrificed. When people sacrifice you for money, they reveal their blindness to your God-given worth. To exchange a soul, a relationship, or a sacred trust for material gain is to confess that they cannot discern true value. It is the evidence of a mind bound by temporary things, unable to see the eternal treasure standing before them. When someone chooses money over you, they have already declared that they do not understand purpose. They have confused possession with power, and in their blindness, they have devalued what heaven calls irreplaceable. A woman's worth cannot be calculated in figures or assets because she was never designed to be part of a transaction. She is not a currency to be traded, but a creation to be honored. Those who exchange her for gain are not exposing her weakness, they are exposing their poverty of vision. They cannot see beyond the surface, so they sell what they should have protected. They discard what they should have cherished. And in doing so, they trade away favor, peace, and destiny. When you are sacrificed for money, it can be tempting to question yourself, to wonder if perhaps you were not enough. But the truth is the opposite. It was not your inadequacy that caused the betrayal. It was their inability to perceive greatness. They saw you as a stepping stone when God designed you as a cornerstone. They thought they could profit by replacing you, but in reality they lost what could have never been bought. The blindness of those who sacrifice others for gain is dangerous because it always leads to emptiness. Money gained through betrayal cannot satisfy, cannot sustain, and cannot last. Their choice to trade you for profit reveals the depth of their ignorance, not the measure of your worth. Money can buy attention, but not loyalty, possessions, but not peace, status, but not purpose. This is one of the greatest illusions of life, that wealth can secure what only God can provide. People chase money thinking it will guarantee security, admiration, and fulfillment, but at the core of existence are needs that no material possession can satisfy. Attention gained through wealth is fragile because it is conditional. The moment the resources fade, the attention shifts. Those who surround you because of what you can give them are not loyal to you. They are loyal to the benefits you provide. Loyalty cannot be purchased because it is rooted in heart and character. It is proven in storms, not in seasons of plenty. Money might attract crowds, but it cannot build covenant. It might fill a house, but it cannot establish a home. It might purchase a bed, it cannot provide rest. The soul longs for what money cannot deliver: peace of mind, clarity of purpose, and security in love. Status is another mirage money creates. People assume that position and recognition will satisfy the hunger for significance, but status without purpose is empty. What is the value of being known if you are not understood? What is the use of being celebrated if you are not fulfilled? Many wear titles, but live with inner emptiness. They gain recognition, but lack direction. They achieve influence, but cannot silence their own turmoil. Purpose cannot be bought because it is not external, it is internal. It is discovered, not purchased. A woman who understands this principle becomes free from manipulation. She knows that no amount of money or status defines her because what she carries within her cannot be bought, bargained, or exchanged. That is the power of true worth. Those who betray others for gain often lose the very thing they were chasing. Betrayal is a seed that never produces the harvest one expects. It may seem in the moment that they have gained an advantage, secured a position, or acquired wealth. Hidden within that act of disloyalty is the principle of loss. Because betrayal erodes trust, and trust is the foundation of lasting success. You cannot build a future on broken covenants, and you cannot establish peace on the ruins of dishonor. When someone sacrifices a relationship, a covenant, or a person's trust in exchange for gain, what they are truly doing is trading long-term blessing for short-term gratification. Grasp what looks like advancement, but it is nothing more than a fading shadow. The satisfaction they feel is temporary because anything gained through betrayal cannot be sustained by integrity. Without integrity, there is no anchor, and without an anchor, everything collapses in time. History itself testifies to this truth. Men and women who rose by betrayal eventually fell by the same principle. The promotion gained through deceit is quickly lost. The wealth obtained through dishonor becomes a curse. The advantage taken through disloyalty breeds enemies instead of allies. May seem to rise faster, but their downfall is always greater because they severed themselves from the very foundation that could sustain them. Betrayal carries with it a spiritual law, cannot prosper by destroying what God calls sacred. To betray a person of worth is to invite emptiness into your own soul. You may gain money, but you will lose peace. You may secure position, but you will lose favor. You may win the world's applause. You will forfeit heaven's approval. And in the end, they lose far more than they ever gained. True wealth is in character, wisdom, divine purpose, not in what hands can hold, but in what hearts can carry. The greatest treasures of life are not measured in currency, land, or possessions, because all of those things fade, depreciate, and can be taken away. True wealth is invisible yet undeniable. It is the integrity that sustains you when temptations arise, the wisdom that guides you when confusion surrounds you, and the sense of purpose that anchors you when storms threaten to shake you. These are riches that no thief can steal and no market can devalue. Character is wealth because it determines how high you can rise and how long you can remain there. A person of character may not have much in their hands, but they carry favor, trust, and influence wherever they go. Wisdom is wealth because it multiplies opportunities. With wisdom, even small resources can produce great outcomes. Without it, even great fortunes vanish. Purpose is wealth because it gives meaning to everything you touch. Without purpose, abundance feels empty. With purpose, even scarcity becomes fulfilling. A woman who understands this principle is not impressed by glitter or intimidated by lack. She knows that her real treasure is in who she is becoming, not in what she possesses. Her wealth is her ability to endure trials without losing faith, to love without fear, to create without envy, to walk in dignity regardless of external conditions. The danger of chasing material wealth without inner wealth is that you can gain the whole world and lose your soul. But when you build character, embrace wisdom, and walk in divine purpose, you carry riches that outlast time itself. These treasures do not pass away. They live with you, in you, and through you. When you are sacrificed for someone's ambition, it exposes the poverty of their soul, not your inadequacy. Ambition without principle is dangerous because it drives people to treat others as tools instead of treasures, as steps to climb rather than lives to honor. When someone chooses to discard you for their own advancement, what they are truly displaying is their emptiness. They reveal that their vision is shallow, their character is weak, and their understanding of true success is corrupted. Being sacrificed in this way can feel painful, but it is not a verdict on your worth. It is a mirror held up to their heart. Their actions are proof that they could not see who you really were, that they lacked the maturity to value what was divine in you. Soul that is impoverished of wisdom will always mishandle treasure. They can only interpret worth through selfish gain, so they sacrifice what should have been protected. This truth is vital. Your rejection is not a reflection of deficiency. It is evidence of misperception. You were not too small, they were too blind. You were not unworthy, They were unprepared. In their hunger for advancement, they sold what they should have guarded, and in their haste to rise, they cut themselves off from the very favor that could have elevated them. The poverty of their soul is revealed in the fact that they believed betrayal was a path to success. They thought ambition justified sacrifice, but all it revealed was emptiness. When you are sacrificed, do not internalize the pain as proof of your weakness. Recognize it as exposure of their condition. They are bankrupt within. Their choices declare it more loudly than words ever could. Emotional detachment from betrayal is a sign of spiritual maturity. You rise above the transaction because your worth is not up for sale. When people choose money, status, or self-interest over you, it can be tempting to let bitterness, anger, or grief consume you. But true strength is shown when you refuse to allow their decision to control your spirit. Detachment is not coldness, it is clarity. It is the realization that your identity is anchored in God, not in human approval. You recognize that their betrayal may touch your circumstances, but it cannot touch your essence. To detach is to stand in the confidence that you were never defined by what others gave you, so you cannot be destroyed by what they took away. It is to look at betrayal and say, this does not decrease me, it only reveals them. Detachment means you no longer spend nights rehearsing their rejection or questioning your value. Instead, you rise to a higher perspective where their actions lose power over your emotions. You reclaim your peace because your worth cannot be negotiated, bought, or diminished. Detachment is spiritual maturity because it shifts your focus from people to purpose. Rather than being consumed by who left or who betrayed, you align yourself again with why you were created. You begin to see that their choice to sacrifice you was not an ending, but a redirection. The pain may have cut deep, but it carved a path to clarity. When you practice detachment, you step into a realm where no betrayal can imprison you. You become unshakable because you know that your destiny is not in the hands of those who betrayed you. It remains intact, preserved by the one who never abandons his own. God often allows betrayal to show you who cannot be trusted with your destiny. Betrayal is painful, but hidden within it is revelation. Sometimes you do not truly see a person's heart until opportunity tempts them to choose between loyalty and gain. Their choice reveals whether they were truly with you or simply walking beside you for what they could receive. Permits these moments not to break you, but to protect you from carrying the wrong people into your future. There are places God intends to take you that cannot be shared with those who do not value you. If their loyalty is shallow, it will not survive the weight of your calling. If their love is conditional, it will not endure the demands of your assignment. Betrayal unmasks their heart before you elevate them to a position they were never prepared to handle. It is God's way of removing liabilities before they become permanent anchors in your journey. When betrayal strikes, it may feel like abandonment, but in truth it is exposure. God is showing you was never meant to walk the full length of the path with you. He is revealing that not everyone who starts with you is destined to finish with you. Some were attached to your favor, not your future. Others were attracted to your presence, not your purpose. If you look deeper, you will see the wisdom of heaven in the pain. Had they stayed hidden, their disloyalty would have surfaced at a moment that could have destroyed your assignment. But by allowing betrayal now, God spares you from greater loss later. He uses the sting of rejection as a shield, ensuring that those who cannot honor your worth will not contaminate your destiny. The failure of those who misuse you is inevitable because they uproot the very seed of favor they needed to prosper. Favor is not an accident. It is a divine principle. When you are connected to someone, your presence carries a grace, an atmosphere an unseen covering that benefits them more than they often realize. When they choose to betray, dishonor, sacrifice you for their own gain, they are cutting themselves off from that invisible supply. They think they are advancing by removing you, but in reality, they are dismantling the very platform that sustained them. Misusing a person of worth is dangerous because you never truly know the extent of what God has placed in them. You may see a woman, but heaven sees a vessel of destiny. You may see weakness, but God has invested strength, wisdom, and influence within her. To betray or exploit such a person is to step outside of the covering that their presence provided. Suddenly, what seemed to flow easily becomes difficult. What seemed stable begins to collapse. And what once prospered now begins to dry up. This is why those who sacrifice others for gain often discover that their plans do not last. They may enjoy temporary success, but it is shallow and fleeting. The absence of favor becomes evident because favor is not tied to money or position. It is tied to divine alignment. By misusing you, they chose misalignment, and misalignment always leads to failure. The irony is that what they rejected was the very seed of their increase. What they betrayed was the bridge to their next level. What they discarded was the foundation of their stability. Their downfall becomes inevitable, not because you cursed them, but because they uprooted the favor they desperately needed to succeed. A woman who understands her eternal value becomes untouchable. She walks in confidence, purpose, and divine security, unmoved by human rejection. When you awaken to the truth that your worth is not tied to anyone's opinion or validation, you step into a realm of unshakable strength. People may underestimate you, they may betray you, they may even try to replace you, but none of that can subtract from what God has already placed within you. You stop living as a reaction to others, and you start living as a revelation of who you are. Confidence is born when you no longer measure yourself against temporary things. It is not arrogance, it is assurance. Knowing that you carry the imprint of heaven in your being. This confidence makes you resilient. It enables you to stand tall when others walk away, to remain at peace when others misjudge you, to continue shining even when others try to dim your light. Purpose becomes your compass. You are not distracted by betrayal because you understand that purpose is bigger than pain. You stop asking, why did they do this to me? And start declaring, nothing can stop what I was created to do. When purpose governs your life, rejection loses its sting because you see it as redirection. What left you was not necessary for where you are going. Divine security surrounds you like armor. You know you are covered by the one who called you, and this makes you untouchable. No insult, no rejection, no abandonment can penetrate the shield of your identity. A woman who grasps this truth walks through life unbothered, unbroken, unstoppable. Her worth is eternal, her spirit unshaken, and her destiny intact, regardless of what anyone else chooses to do. Woman, do not measure yourself by the price others were willing to sell you for. Measure yourself by the value heaven placed within you. They sacrificed you for money and still failed because you cannot exchange eternal worth for temporary gain. Your destiny is not at the mercy of betrayal, and your future is not dependent on who stayed or who left. You are God's investment in the earth, and no rejection can cancel his intention. Stand tall in the confidence that you were never for sale. Refuse to live wounded by their blindness and rise into the security of your true identity. For when you embrace the fullness of your eternal value, you become unshakable, touchable, and unstoppable, proof to the world that what God has sealed cannot be sacrificed, cannot be replaced, and cannot be lost.